Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the Leadership Lecture Series at IIT Madras. We are delighted to have with us Mr. Gopi Koteeswaran, an alumnus of IIT Madras and a leader who has built and scaled businesses across both global corporations and startups. He began his career at Johnson & Johnson, went on to hold senior leadership roles at Philips, and later served as a CEO of Latentview Analytics, leading the company to one of India's most successful IPOs in 2021. Today, he is the co-founder of Dzruptiv AI, Boostable, and the Cardiac Wellness Institute and serves on several advisory boards. In his talk, Building World-Class Innovative Companies, Startup Approach versus Executive MBA Approach, he will share insights from building businesses within large global organizations and scaling startups, highlighting how innovation, leadership, and executions differ when resources are abundant versus constrained, and reflecting on the relevance of management education in today's rapidly evolving business landscape. Everyone, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Gopi Koteeswaran. We would like to welcome Sunita ma'am to present a memento to Mr. Gopi Koteeswaran.
Hey, thanks for coming. As she said, thanks for the nice welcome address. I think probably a year and a half ago I addressed the new freshies of the B.Tech program. So we had a really good time at the SAC, Student Activity Center at that point in time, but that was more a totally fun session, which I'd like to make this one as well. So the idea of this session, in my view, please correct me if, is to share some of the experiences we have and see if I can be of any relevance to you in your decision making, the way you're thinking, if there's anything can be. So I've put together a bunch of slides, and I should say some of it was put together by my team. Therefore, I have a few guys from my team here. Dzruptiv AI people, lift your hands. So don't be shy. So they are here. So some of them have put up, so that's why the logo is there. Otherwise, if I had done my own presentation, I wouldn't put the logo in. So here, what I'm going to share with you is, to start with, I'm going to provide a look at my career journey to give you context, right? So it's an embarrassing thing to talk about yourself, what you're doing. But after that, I just want to dive a little deeper into how the world looked when I got into the workforce. Very briefly to give you a context, and then to look at how we are looking at things from today's perspective. How do we look at things, and then dive into three stages of building a world-class innovative company. And these are my milestones. These are not rigorous academic tested ones. I'm putting my milestones based on my experience. This is how I fund companies. This is how I build companies. This is how I place my bet on companies. So it might not stand the test of rigor, but I do know that some of these milestones work. It's worked for me. It worked for when I was in multiple places. So feel free to challenge it. And if I can finish quickly and open it up for Q&A and you have some questions, that'll be great. But as I realized, I've put in a lot of slides as I was thinking, but I'll try to wrap it up as quickly as possible so that we can have an interactive session. First one is, this is just my career. It's so I graduated from IIT Madras, and I am in 93, and then I figured that I was not very good with engineering, so quickly moved to people management. So I went to IIM Calcutta, and also the context at that point in time was about 50 out of 50 of my classmates, 40 plus went to the US. That was a common thing to do there. And we were called MBMs, Mera Bharat Mahans. So there were 4 or 5 of us who decided to stay back in India, even though the exchange rate was not very good and all of that. Not that it's improved too much now, but at that time it was really bad. And so there were 4 or 5 of us who went to IIM Cal from here. Most of us have become entrepreneurs. Shekhar Vembu was with me. He didn't come to Cal. This is Sridhar's brother, Zoho. So he was with me. We were all like having fun, let's put it that way. So went to IIM Cal, joined Johnson & Johnson in Bombay. So those as a management trainee, so they threw me to upcountry Orissa, where I was selling baby soap, baby powder, stay free, carefree, whatever. I mean, Band-Aid for a few months, because that's what they expect you to do before you come back into conceptual roles. So then I was a product manager, and they posted me in Canada for some time. I was based in North America for the J&J Vision Care. I came back as country head for J&J Vision Care India in 2000. And then I did that for 3 years, grew the business like crazy, became country head of Malaysia for the same business, so they promoted me there. So it was considered, when I moved to Malaysia, the managing director, who was 20 years older than me, during my farewell speech said, that's a meteoric rise. Right, but we hungry, ambitious people don't look at meteoric rise, we look at what's ahead of us. As you can see from the graph, my past is just small, my future looks bigger, right? So the reason I do that is you can either be busy living or you can be busy dying, right? So the past is all nice, but what you're going to do in the future is the most important thing. So, so from there I went to Malaysia. I found out that I was the youngest member of the Asia Pacific leadership team, but everybody sitting around me was a MBA from Harvard, Wharton, blah, 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 all these places, and they looked at me and said, oh, you have business schools in India, that's so sweet. So I'm yeah, see, these guys are going to make decisions about my career, so they don't even know. I mean, they have nothing against me, they just don't know. It's like, you know, they're like, you have business schools in India, that's so sweet, so nice. So I went and did another MBA in a place called IMD in Switzerland. It was ranked #1 at that point in time by everybody from Wall Street Journal to Economist and so on. So after that, I joined Philips in Amsterdam. One of the main reasons I moved there was, till that point in time, my experience was in building businesses bottom up, right? So country head, so I had never done anything at a global level. So it was one country, one region that you build up. But I've met the company group chairman of Johnson & Johnson once in my 10 years with J&J, right? So that is kind of, so when I finished my MBA at IMD, I said, I want to join the global headquarters. And I didn't apply to Philips. Philips applied to me. They saw my profile, said, wow, you look like, it's nice to have somebody like you. Can you join the company? We're trying to make it a consumer health company. So I joined them, and I was with them for about 7 years in Amsterdam. Initially, I joined as the head of strategy and business development, but I was the right hand of the business leader, so buying companies, innovation strategies, making bets on which technology is going to go up. And before the technology comes to existence, can you place some bets on it? And Philips had a history of creating the MP3 player, but iPod was made by Apple. We created the GPS, and TomTom made a big success out of it. So earlier we did the cassette players, CDs, and we made money out of it as Philips, not we. And now we were just creating technologies and somebody else was making money out of it. So it was, and they wanted to get back into health specific. So I was with them for 7 years. And then I realized that I'd lived in 5 different countries, and I'm the only child. My parents were in Chennai, and I never wanted to leave. I mean, originally the MBM, the Mera Bharat Mahan, was the only original thematic. I'm already in 5 countries. So one fine day, I just dropped everything and came back home. So at that time, one of my close friends, Venkat, he was with me in Narmada Hostel, and he was with me in IIM Calcutta and in Bombay. So he had started Latentview in 2006. And as a big coincidence, Philips was the first international customer of Latentview. And then when I came back, he was like, I said 1 or 2 days a week I'll spend helping this company out. And then when I came back and saw the company and saw the people, I realized that they just treat you like boss's friend if you come for 1 or 2 days. He himself called me and said, I'll step out, you be the CEO, run the company, and I won't interfere with the ways. And a phenomenal guy, he didn't interfere with anything that I was doing. So for 5 years, I was the CEO of Latentview Analytics. So we grew it like crazy. So I mean, it was one of the most, so then at the end of 5 years, I stepped out, promoted Rajan Sethuraman to that role from within, and he's still the CEO. The company's doing exceptionally well, and But step down. Then what I do right now, my day job is Dzruptiv AI. As we speak, I'm not sure if my team knows that we've just signed up one of the major global manufacturing companies as a client as we speak, because thank you, appreciate it. As a startup, every customer, everything is a win, so we just signed that up, and we are signing up one of the multi-billion-dollar group companies next week. So we've been invited for a presentation on Wednesday and on Tuesday evening. It looks like it's a decision-making one, but we're going ahead. So we're getting some clients. And what we do at Dzruptiv AI is empower enterprises with their AI transformation. What that basically means is you have 5,000 people or 50,000 people, you're reading about AI and worrying. We go there and say, don't worry, we'll get this done. And our team actually executes some of these things, and we show positive results for them, and they have to build on it and move forward on that. So that's kind of what our Dzruptiv AI does. The Cardiac Wellness Institute, my wife is a cardiologist, medical doctor. She moved to every country along with me, and she was not allowed to practice in any of these places. She kept getting degrees, so she got a PhD in cardiogenetics from the University of Amsterdam. When we came back here, we started Cardiac Wellness Institute. It focuses on preventive cardiology, so if you have, and on rehabilitation. So if you have a stent or a bypass, or if you have some issues, so doctors really take care of you till that gets fixed, right? The moment that gets fixed and you leave the hospital, good luck to you. Nobody's talking to you, right? So that's when rehab comes in. We bring you back to normal. So this is what it is. I've invested in a company called Ancora Health. It does exactly this, but it does it digitally. It's present in the Netherlands right now, so it's got regulatory approval as well as insurance coverage. It's partnered with Leiden University Medical Centrum, so every patient who comes out of Leiden University Medical Centrum goes through that program right now. They're on our platform. So that's taking off pretty well. Boostable is slightly far out. Two of my classmates from IMD, one French guy, one Dutch guy. This almost sounds like that joke that three people went to a bar kind of a thing. So Elva is based out of France, Noah is based out of Amsterdam. I'm based in Chennai. This is more, we genuinely believe that the way we are producing food and consuming food is completely wrong. The way we are using fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, without adding biofertilizers. There are a lot of things wrong with the way the world is moving on that front, and we believe that that needs to be corrected. So that's more so we've made some investments. We have an investment in a vertical farming technology, Bangalore-based. My batchmate, Gosagan, IIT Madras 93, so he's created some cool technology. We hopefully will take it global at some point in time, but still some distance to go on that front. And then we also do some advisory for companies in India, and we're doing pretty well there. A board member, basically mentor kind of a thing. So 3 organizations, 4 now I'm associated with. TiE Chennai, so I chair their B.Tech committee. SICI, Southern India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I chair their startup committee. IITM, I work closely with Prof. Ravi, Geeta Krishnan, and Mitesh Kapra, the data science group, right? So we've been, so from putting the chairs for the inauguration of RBC Desai, anything they need, we are there to support them. It's more, they've been kind to us, we are very kind to them. The idea is building world-class innovative companies, which, by the way, is a topic. This is the first time I'm actually exposing this to someone. This is my personal one that I did probably October of 2024. This is, once in a while I look at it and say, if I'm doing something that's not on this list, I should stop doing it. This is my way of giving priority or something to myself. But my day job is clearly Dzruptiv AI. That's kind of where I spend a lot of my time on. So the reason I'm telling you this is more to get, so I see a lot of people who get into a startup and then they're trying to scale it up. I'm doing it the other way around. When I started a job, I had a secretary, and I had flight tickets booked, everything booked, and so on. All the way around, I'm here. I do all of this myself. Of course, there's Arun now who tries to help me, but my journey has been the other way around. So And sometimes it helps. And today what I'll try to do is, there are pluses and minuses to both. There's nothing easy. I'm going to put my thoughts on where it's useful, where it's not. Of course, challenge me. Take it forward. Do you guys know this guy? Any of you? There's a reason I'm putting this up, is because imagine, when did I graduate? 93, so which is 23 years ago, right? 23 years later, right? You put up a picture of Elon Musk and the kids don't recognize it. How will you feel? This is Jack Welch, God for us, God, right? 20 years to become CEO of General Electric and 20 years as CEO of General Electric. So for us, when we went into the workforce, every book he's written, every speech he's given, every article this guy comes out, anything about Jack Welch. Think of what you do when Elon Musk says something, Sam Altman says something, Andre says something. So you're just picking up everything and reading it. Plus, this is the singular God at that point in time. So I'll just share a few of his philosophies that are ingrained into multiple organizations now. The first one, either you're number one or number two, or you exit. That was Jack Welch, right? Because GE was having 10 different businesses. And when he reviews a business, this is what his first review point is. Either you're number one or number two, or you exit. I give you 6 months time. If you become number one or number two, you exist. Otherwise, I'm selling off the business. Number two, bell curve for employees. Every year, you fire 5% of the employees, right? Or 10% of the employees. GE used to do it, and they were forcing every company to do it. I'm not a great fan of some of what they say, but same like what you guys are reading, you don't generally agree with everything that Elon Musk says, or so one of them says, but you're reading all of this and their points of views matter. So this guy was saying this. And process excellence, Six Sigma, they just kill process. Every organization will be using GE's Six Sigma principles and like killing you, or so the reason I wanted to share this with you, is to say that this guy is not recognized today by this bunch of people, right? And I guess that you wouldn't recognize him. But this molded the executives of, so I have another picture, but I'm not going to show that because of the theme. But there are some 25 Indians who are top executives. This is doing the viral right now as executives of whatever, head of Starbucks, head of blah, 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 head of blah, 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 I don't know what, they're all executives. So they all become executives because the role model was this, right? So if your role models are slightly different and they're founders of company, 20, 25 years down the line, hopefully you build some really good companies and you don't work for someone else, right? That's the thinking. Not all of us are cut out for it, but it's important that we have role models the right way, and also ethically they have to be the right way, so we'll get to that. These are the companies, again, snapshot, top 10 in the 90s, right? So, but the commonality of all of these guys is they'd existed for a long time. Most of these companies were close to 100 years in existence, right? So good companies, good executives, people working day and out. They knew how to do sales, marketing, engineering. They were like really, really top-notch people. These are the companies. They still exist. Most of these companies still doing well. They don't feature in the top 10 anymore, and they don't seem to be aspirational for the people on the ground, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about my company. This is Johnson & Johnson Vision Care. The reason I'm going to share with this is how innovation was done. So I was a country head in India 2000 to 2003, in Malaysia 2003 to 2005. We launched the product in 1987, market leaders within 1 year, right? What did we do? We bought a company called Frontier Contact Lenses in 1981. Then picked up a technology called stabilized soft molding. That is, at that point, contact lenses were first made and then something was injected into them. Stabilized soft molding helped you make the contact lens in a semi-solid state. And that allowed you to make more of contact lenses in a same way. So at that point in time, the consumer interest was, I'd like to look good, I don't want to wear glasses. The Professionals, eye care professionals' interest is every time they put this on, there were diseases, corneal edema, so swelling of the cornea, GPC, giant papillary conjunctivitis. All these diseases existed. So you put on contact lens, then you go to your doctor, doctor's fixing you, right? So what J&J did, everybody else was extending the life of a contact lens. Instead of 6 months, you can wear it for 1 year. You can wear. J&J came up with a disposable contact lens because of the technology and said, you can just put this contact lens on and throw it out after a week, right? Complications just dropped. So the professionals were super happy, consumers were very happy, soft lenses, really soft lenses. Within a year, we are market leaders. The competitors have been in business for 80 years or something. At that time, it was Bosch & Lomb and Ciba Vision. So you come in as a new player and you've just blown it away. You're the market leader. We hit $1 billion in revenues in 2000, right? 87 it was launched. But the innovation process is simple. You identified a technology, you identified a customer, and you've made sure you've invested tons of R&D into making sure it addresses your customer's need, and boom, we launch it. Within a year, we make it. But also remember that the company has tons of money for them to do it, right? So now, it was not just one example. So we entered the field of cardiology. We bought a company called Cordis. J&J bought a company called Cordis. Within a year or two, within a few years, improved the technology, multi-billion-dollar company. DePuy bought a company in orthopedics, knee replacement, one of the top knee replacements in the world, few $1 billion. Bought a company called LifeScan, diabetes, one-touch monitor, blew it out of. So there was scaling skills, right? So we had professionals who were talking to diabetologists. We had professionals who were talking to ophthalmologists. We had professionals who were talking to cardiologists. We had professionals who were talking to orthopedic surgeons. Now, what they said, how they said it, how do you do this, how do you manage the workflows, this was a skill, and you needed this for scaling these companies to $1 billion. And of course, you needed deep pockets, without which you cannot buy these companies or invest in these technologies. This is how innovation was done in the 90s, right? So it's not easy for you or me to get in and say, I'm going to compete with these guys, right? Think of it. I mean, I can be an employee there. I can become a CEO or whatever fancy title that is there. But competing with these guys was not easy, right? But let's look at today, right? Look at the top 10 companies. There's a lot of tech, right? And a lot of these companies didn't exist, right? So I think Meta was formed in 2004, maybe 2004. So these guys didn't even exist when I went into the workforce, right? So like with the people that you recognize today, I won't even know them. So I have to learn from my team on who's cool and who's not, right? So they educate me. Whether I like it or not, they educated me on this. But also remember that it's not easy to compete with these guys even today, right? So it's not, even though they look new, they're all there. They're bigger gorillas than the previous guys, because the previous guys are hated. These guys, some of us like them because of tech thing, but these guys are also hated in a broader sense of society and so on. But these are the top 10 right now. Of course, you see Berkshire Hathaway and Aramco for different reasons, but mostly, otherwise, we're talking about serious tech, right? This is all serious tech, new companies, and so on. So obviously, aspirational levels. One of the points I'm trying to make is some of the decisions that we make thinking we are making the decisions are all driven by a lot of advertising and media and all of that, right? So what is cool right now is this. But what is nice now is we also have these companies, right? Which we didn't have as a thing earlier. So Shekhar Wembu was my classmate, so there was a company called AdventNet, now it's called Zoho. So he was the kind guy, any one of my batchmates loses their job anywhere in the world, we just call up Shekhar and he'll be like, okay, where are you? Chicago. Okay, join my Chicago office tomorrow morning. He was a safety, very sweet guys. Obviously, they've gone through the roof right now in terms of what they've achieved. But at that point in time, and even now, they're very kind people, very down-to-earth people. So if you need help, they're there to help you out. But they had the foresight to found a company at that point in time where all of us were looking for jobs, right? I mean, so there is some benefit to taking the hard path right up front. But this I'm sharing because there are quite a few people trying to do all of these things. And even now we are only third. So we expect us to be 20 to 50 unicorns in the next few years we're aiming to do that. So US, China, then it's us, but it's fairly cool. So there are alternative ways of doing stuff. So I'm going to now that I've given some big picture stuff, jump into what I think is the very first step to building a company, right? So I think it's fairly simple. There are founders, it's you and a couple of other friends or whatever. There's a customer need and a value proposition. In layman's terms, it would be called problems and solutions, right? If you solve some customer's problem better than anybody else through a differentiated solution, you're home, all right? How do you know you're home? This is my milestone for that. Very simple. Do you have a paying customer, right? And is that paying customer happy? Do they come back or tell, hey, my brother also wants to buy this, right? So something like that. That is all. So this part of it is your core business, right? So addressing a problem with a differentiated or cool solution, because you need a differentiated solution, because otherwise the person next to you will address the same problem themselves. So it has to be slightly differentiated. But this is the core fundamentals. But what I see, because of my mentoring process and other things, I meet a lot of startups. They sometimes don't have customers. Understandable. I mean, I'm not saying if everybody can crack this code, everybody will have a business, right? So it's difficult to get a customer. It's not easy. And it's difficult to make that customer happy. So not easy. So although it looks very simple, super difficult. But that's the question I have, saying that that's your milestone. But they say, I've got funding. Who's the idiot who gave you money, right? So good luck to you. But great, you got funding. But do you have a paying customer? This is your first milestone, right? You can get, some of these guys needed to do 3 levels of funding before they got a first customer, right? Because your tech might be complex, in which case you have to get 3 levels of funding. But your first milestone is still a paying customer, because till you get a paying customer, you don't have a business, right? You have a highly valued, blah, blah, blah is a nice way of saying it, or you have a scam, right? So when it goes down like crazy. So if somebody is not paying you, who's paying salaries to your employees, right? If it's the investor, you have a problem. If it's a customer, that's great, because so you know, otherwise you have a problem, right? At some point, not today, at some point. So this is important, and I'm spending so much time on this because this is so basic, but when you get excited about what's going on in the world, we can sometimes forget this. And most companies do not get past this stage. I mean, I've seen enough companies that do not get paying customers, period, game over. We can be as intelligent as we want to be. And why is it so difficult? So let me, because it looks too simple, it's difficult, right? Uber, what did it solve? Waiting for taxis. I'm sure it's more complicated than that, right? Airbnb, expensive hotels, you have a solution for that. Or Duolingo, which is like super popular, easy way of learning a new language. So this is the tricky part, right? So it is very simple, but it's reasonably, so you have to do multiple iterations to get there. And so what I'm going to do is, after this, there is a video. The Instagram founders, right? I mean, cool guys, and they're talking about this. I like the way they were talking about this, so I just thought I'll share that with you. Just listen. It's a 3.5 minute video. Just listen to them. Yeah.
Finding the solution to the problem is the hardest part. I always thought, like, you're faced with these problems that people have, right? You assume that you know exactly what you're going to tackle, and the hard part is finding that algorithm, right? The hard part is scaling that solution. It turns out, thank you, Mike, that the hard part is actually finding the problem to solve. Solutions actually come pretty easily for the majority of problems. Not for every problem, but for the majority of problems. And in our case, what we did was, when we sat down and we were deciding to work on Instagram, what we did was we wrote down the top 5 problems people have with mobile photos. Because we wanted to build a product that solved problems. We didn't want to just build a cool app to like look for a problem that people had. We wanted to do it the other way around. So what we did was we listed out these 5 problems, and I remember the top 3 that we circled. Number 1 was that mobile photos don't look so great, right? Like we've all had that experience. You're seeing the sunset, you take a snapshot, and it looks like, you know, washed out, you can barely see the sun, etc. And we were like, that's like the major problem we want to solve. Number 2 was that uploads on mobile phones take a really long time. So we were like, what could we do around that? And we were like, well, maybe if we start the upload way before you're done even editing the photo's caption. And what if we like size down the photo just to fit perfectly on the screen but nothing else? And that's like the small little problem and solution that it turns out really delights people because they press done entering their caption, it's already been uploaded, right? The third problem was that we really wanted to allow you to share out to multiple services at once. We felt like, should you have to make the decision of taking a photo with the Facebook app, the Twitter app, so on and so on, or should you just take it in one place and distribute it to many places at once, right? Those top 3 problems allowed us to really hone in on what solution we wanted to build. And that's really what Instagram became. I also wanted to say that, you know, once you have those top problems that you want to solve, you need to verify that they're actually the ones that people have. And really the way to do that is get your product in front of people very quickly and test that hypothesis. I think too many people wait a long time, and I'm going to talk about this a little later. Too many people wait a long time to see whether or not what they're working on is actually the problem people are having. And the last point is that really you should not be afraid to have simple solutions to simple problems. Like I said early on, I think too many people believe you have to solve things in a really complicated way. And at the end of the day, if you delight people even a little bit with a simple solution, it turns out it goes very far. And that first day when we had like something like 20,000 new users, I was like, clearly there was a need for this that hadn't been done before, and I'm so glad we tackled those simple problems. There's something about like, you know, in the tech community, you always want to feel like you're working on the hardest problem in the world. It turns out that simple problem becomes very hard at scale, and that's what's really exciting.
In a way, like we often, in our entrepreneurship classes, hear about the big, hairy, audacious goal. Like what's the huge chunk you're trying to bite off and tackle? And one thing that really struck me was that that big, hairy, audacious goal could be bringing that simple solution to something delightful to the masses, and that in itself is a huge challenge.
What do you think? Super clear. They're not trying to do Instagram as we know Instagram. They're looking at what are the problems and going brutally at it and trying to solve that, right? I mean, I think there's some merit to this because I was looking at what could communicate what I was thinking of very clearly, and these guys said it. Scaling is not the problem. That's not the issue. The issue is what is the problem you're solving, right? I don't know. Do any of you know Tamil a little bit here and there? There's this comedian called Vivek in the thing. So he'll ask in one of these movies, "Yarume illada tea kadaila yarukagappa nee tea aatittu irukken." So it's like you've created something and then you're so excited about it and you're like, this is great, and nobody's buying it because you're not solving anybody's problem, right? And looking for a problem after creating a solution, good luck to you. If you because it's business, we're talking about making money, which comes from, that's why I said paying customer, right? I mean, so no paying customers. This is very simple, right? Go back to drawing board. You've not crossed milestone 1, right? It is very easy to say things like, I'm ahead of my time. I've got something great. Nobody's watching it, or nobody's buying this, and so on. Right? Think of these movie guys who make some movie that's not gone even for a day. There'll be 10 people who like that movie. Then that's for them. I mean, but if you spend the producers 100 crores on making that movie, good luck to you, right? So you have to be very careful on getting paying customers. And I understand some technology might be more difficult. So you might have to do 2-3 rounds of investor fundraising, but do not lose focus on paying customers because you could go down a slippery slope if that happens, right? So I come back just to say that here's the paying customer problem solution, very, very, very simple problem to address. And the questions that you need to ask, simple, who's the customer? Who is the customer? Can I speak to customers? Can I speak to 100 customers? And I don't speak to those customers. I ask them what they need. I give them what I have and say, does this solve your problem? If it doesn't, then because sometimes I talk to people and say, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like it? And people say, yes. Okay, they liked it, right? I've spoken to 100. So I've seen entrepreneurs like this. I mean, entrepreneurs by definition are a bit crazy, which is got it. We all, I would say Dzruptiv AI is the best company in the world. And it's true. It may take you a year or two to believe it. What do you say, Shiva? We'll prove it to them, right? It'll take some time, but we're getting there. The customers are believing. I have 6 paying customers. They're all huge corporates. So we're getting there. But I've got to believe. But if the customer is not paying me, I have a problem. So we have to make sure we go down. And similarly, on the proposition, right, on your solution, is that solution differentiated? Can somebody else do it? Can the company sitting next door to you, can they solve this problem? How can you differentiate it? How can you build a moat? How can you quickly make this super difficult for somebody else to do? And sometimes just speed can do that. So just speed, like you do 50 such things that nobody's done before with 50 different companies. And you claim that I'm the only company in the world who've done 50 times for 50 different. That's enough. You got a moat. Somebody else comes in, will give up and not even start it, right? And there are ecosystem to support it, right? So GDC, this is the Guru Raj Deshpande Center that we have within IIT. They help you with finding the proposition, speaking to customers. Then the Stanford Seed Program that helps you. The mentors, angels, Tai Chennai, all of these people help you. So IITM professors, if you have a solution, you can always approach them, talk to them. Technology entrepreneurs, they'll always be willing to give back if you have questions. In-home tests, usage tests, a bunch of support systems. Use all of those support systems and get to a paying customer. You got paying customers? Yeah? We'll cross milestone 1. Next step is get more customers. There is no fancy thing in this. You just got to get more customers, which is the phase we guys are in Dzruptiv AI. So we're like, yesterday I was in Bombay meeting up with 4 potential customers. Late last night I came back, and as soon as we come back, we debrief the team. We're on talking. So here what happens, milestone for me is $10 million revenue, 100 crore revenue, right? The reason I'm saying this is, before that, you will not be taken seriously in the world, right? If you get I've got 50 lakh revenue or whatever, 5 crore revenue, I'm a great guy. Nobody thinks you're a great guy till you hit 100 crores. And there is no shortcut for it. You got to hustle, right? You have to smart hustle, right? There is, the core is still your founding team, consumer needs and value proposition. By now you have a larger team. These 3 are the core, right? So you're delivering to someone, you make sure what you've delivered, you're showing it to other people, and your existing customers, they show it to other people. If you are happy, paying customer, prove it to me. Talk to 5 other customers and bring me 5 paying customers. Otherwise, what's the point in you being happy, right? Push your existing customers. Get there. Business skills and funding. You need funding. I mean, all of this would require funding. But do not go too early to the sharks, right? So do not go to the big guys and so on, because this is not the time. This, you have to be friends, family, mentors, angels, right? Think of it when you take, remember, when you take money from someone, right, you have to listen to them, right? And if you have not got paying customers, you have to implement what they say. Gopi, I don't like your white shirt. Tomorrow you have to wear a black shirt. Initially, I'd be like, that's your point of view. No customers, and he's the one who's put the money. Okay, fair enough, black shirt tomorrow. So remember that you as an entrepreneur are no longer in charge of your business the moment you take money, right? And when I see people celebrating that they got a round of funding, what are you celebrating, right? You just sold your soul to someone. But if it's a partner who's with you, if you have a business partner who's helping you get customers, or who's helping you crack the customer, that's a celebration. I think there's a slight difference there. You need to look at it, because if somebody's putting money in because their FDs are not giving enough returns, or something else is not giving, or their real estate portfolio is too full, they're putting money in you, watch out, right? That's not the person you want sitting with you and advising you. But someone loves your technology, or someone's like, hey, this problem, so we are solving the diabetes problem in the Netherlands, right? So one of the guys there, his daughter has type 1 diabetes, and he's like looking for solutions, right? So That's a good partner to have because they have a core reason to participate. Even if you take money from them, they're more interested in solving that problem for the greater good rather than making the returns on it. Obviously, we'll make returns for our investors. No two ways about it. We will make returns for our investors. But you have to do a smart hustle here, right? Will the MBA help you here? No. MBA will go, those guys will give you strategy at this point. You don't want strategy. You want smart hustle. Who's your customer? Customer, who are your 5 friends? Why aren't your 5 friends buying my product? You're happy. This customer is happy. Do you know this customer is happy? Do you know this customer is happy? That is what you need to do. It might take you to get to $10 million in revenue or 100 crores. Like Instagram, if you get 20,000 downloads, in the very first instance you put it up, you cracked a big problem. You're going to get there fairly quickly. But if I'm getting 1 customer at a time and I'm doing 2 crore deals every time, I have to increase my deal size to 5 to 10 crores with each customer. I should get at least 10 to 15 customers before I hit the 100 crore mark. But before that, shut up and work. Get your right team. The team is super important. Make sure your consumer needs are being addressed. Make sure you have the right value proposition. Business skills and funding, smart hustle. Read overnight, go to websites, what have others done. Go to other people who have done it. I mean, I think here the key questions at this stage is live, breathe, pray new customers. There's nothing else in your life. Just get new customers. There's nothing cool. I mean, if your technology is so cool that you'll get your new customers, talk about it, right? And if customers are happy, make them get new customers, family, friends, whoever, value proposition. So that's a smart hustle. So there's no playbook for this globally, right? Every business is different, and 99.9% of this is your enthusiasm, your sheer enthusiasm. If they see you, right, screaming and shouting, my company is great, then they'll be like, mad guy, and they leave. 1 year later, they come and see, you're saying, well, look at my customers, they are happy, this customer, crazy guy. 5 years later, you're still doing that. They'll be like, hey, let me sign up and see what is this, why are so many. So it's smart hustle. There's no playbook available, but there are people who have done this. And they will tell you how to do this smartly, right? So if you go to them, they'll tell you, just check this person out, speak to this person, speak. So there's a network here, but they won't tell this to you on day one, right? Because there are enough startups asking for advice. But if you persist for some time, you've got your value proposition right, you have a paying customer, and you're going to people saying, hey, I need more customers, can you help me? They will help you. Because they've been through this, they know how difficult it is, and I know how difficult a startup building is. So if somebody comes and asks for help, but I'll test it 3-4 times and see, are you serious about this? And why are you doing this? What is the purpose? Because all that is important. If you have a bigger purpose, if you're solving a problem that you're impacted by, I know that you're not here to sell this and buy a private island or something. You're here to actually do something, right? So that gives me confidence that you will stick to this for a longer period of time. So this is smart hustle. And this is some Forbes data, so I just collected just to show you why startups fail. Top 3 are no market need. Means what? Somebody's created something and saying, market doesn't want this, right? So you didn't even start with solving a problem. Ran out of cash. Most studies I've seen, I did a program at HBS, the studies showed ran out of cash is the highest, 68% or something. In this study, it shows it's number 2. Running out of cash is the coolest, because you're stuck to some problem, nobody's paying you, you don't have a customer paying you, then at some point you run out of money, and if you have fancy habits, you run out of money very quickly, right? And not the right team. I mean, this is not my opinion, I've just taken these top 3 and put it there. Just to show you that these are the problems. Nothing but what we saw in the first 2 things, that you have a team, you have a problem, and you have a solution, and you need to hustle your way for cash. So you can't run out of cash, you have to figure out you have some cash. So that amount of smartness you need, you don't need an MBA for this. In fact, MBA will go counterintuitive on this one, because you will have so many frameworks that people will quit you, the company very quickly, right? So, but there are guys who can support you here. 2 companies, 2 VCs I really like, deep tech VCs, Speciale Invest and Blue Hill Capital. I think Speciale Invest invested in Agnicool very early. Blue Hill Capital is IITM alum, Manu Iyer is a super cool guy. He's investing in a few things, and these guys will listen to you, tech-oriented and good people to talk to. And even if they reject your idea, they'll give you reasons for rejecting. So very, 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 I really love these guys. They've gone and of course, they're VCs, so they take people's money and they're investing somewhere. They also have a stake in it, but they take brilliant risks on new technologies, right? So nice people to interact with if you have an idea and so on. Business mentors, some of the problems the business mentors can solve is, I saw a startup that said they gave exclusive rights for selling in Dubai to some distributor. And the distributor, after 2 years, has done nothing, not even made one sales call. So we are like, why don't you fire the guy? But the contract that we signed doesn't allow us to fire the guy, right? So who signed the contract? The technology guy signed the contract. So you're like, hey, so some of these basic things the business guys will know. So just before signing contracts, have somebody who's been there, done that, they'll all help you out, because imagine you can't sell in Dubai because you signed some contract with some idiot giving him exclusivity, and you can't withdraw that contract because there's no provision in the contract for withdrawing it. This is really crazy, but these are business basics which I don't expect. I mean, first of all, when I was studying on campus, I didn't know any of this, right? So I would have made these mistakes 10 times over and learned. I won't make the same mistake twice, but I'll make all these mistakes because that's how you learn. But if you have some smart business mentors, you can move ahead. Then networks are very important, because if IIT gives you an opportunity to showcase your product, if TAI, Chennai, SICI, these are Madras Management Association, these are things that I'm associated with. If you have some great ideas you want to showcase in these places, even I can help you put that up there so that you have more people seeing what you're doing. But you have to smartly use all of this. And the question is, have you crossed 10 million in revenue, right? That's the second milestone. The first milestone was basically, do you have a paying customer? The second milestone is, have you crossed 10 million in revenue? Once you cross 10 million in revenue, the action plan is very clear. Just call Gopi. So here, this is, I would say, you need to get to 100 million users if it's your direct-to-consumer play, or if you're doing B2B, then $100 million in revenue. You need to get there. And this requires, here a business education will be useful, right? So I know the founders the current founders all talk bad about business. There is some sense to good governance. There is some sense to good management. There is some sense to doing things with processes and so on, right? There are so here it would be helpful, but here you have to fire on all cylinders. You've reached a point where you need to have an exceptional team. You have to be addressing the needs continuously and checking if these are the needs. You need to be ahead of competition in your value proposition. Your business skills need to be exceptional. And this is where you should be going for funding. This is the point where you hit 100 crores in revenue and you are saying, I want to make this a world-class company. And it is innovative because otherwise I cannot make it bigger than this. Now the game starts. Here is where you have to talk to the global VCs, the right ones. You should have points of views. You should, if you need to do MBA, EMBA courses online, talk to other founders, pick up your business knowledge. Till now you are hustling, but here, obviously it's a continuum. So you'll have to start slightly before hitting the milestone so that you're attracting the right talent. You need to have the core theme. Which I think was my theme when I addressed the freshies a couple of years ago. The core theme is always simple. Unless you're an Einstein or a Newton, you need to learn to interact with people smarter than you. That is it, right? There's no shortcut to it. You have to be surrounded by people smarter than you. If you find yourself surrounded by people where you're giving advice and you're teaching them technology, you're doing this, you're doing that, good luck to you. You have to be surrounded by people smarter than you. Why should they join you? Because of your vision, because of how you are addressing the customer's needs, how this is an exciting thing to be. Those are all the things that you bring to the table. But the people that you have should be way smarter than you, and do not let them in unless they are smarter than you, right? It's important, especially with the changes in technologies happening. They should be excited about what's happening. They should be reading every time you go and they're like, Gopi, this happened yesterday, that happened yesterday. So you should be surrounded by really, really smart people. That's fairly important. Here the business skills are needed, right? I mean, there's no way, two ways about it. And funding is also needed. Without funding, you cannot go to multiple countries, you cannot do. So I've listed a few of these things just to point out that global leadership skills are like, do you have representative leadership? Do you have the right people on your team? Do they represent your customer base? Do you have a pipeline of leaders that you're developing, right? And in marketing, do you have a customer research department? How do you know? You can't do the talking to 100 customers when you're 100 crores, right? You have to have a system and process for doing consumer needs, testing your technologies. Do you have a strategic roadmap? Do you know what the potential roadblocks are? Are you thinking about it right now? So this is serious management stuff where a formal education might help, or at least an informal education might help. The governance, do you have checks and balances in the system? How do you know that you're in compliance? You don't want the government coming after your blood for doing something. So all of these things need to be in place, and once you hit this 100 crore mark or a $10 million, then you need to make sure you're on top of it. This, you can have teams doing all of this, but you cannot outsource the thinking. So you need to make sure you understand what is going on and you understand how these teams interact with each other and how are you creating value in the space. But the landscape has changed dramatically. So if I look at the original set that I started with, the companies that I was talking about, they're all under pressure for quarter to quarter financial pressure, right? So they have to deliver every quarter. They're unable to attract talent because talent wants to be in the cool places. They're unable to innovate because they don't have space to innovate. And they're slow to adapt to technology because there are thousands of people. You have, 80,000 employees. How will 80,000 employees adapt to new technologies? You have 10 employees, obviously 10 of them will adapt fairly quickly, right? So, whereas if I come to a startups backed by VCs and PEs, it's manageable financial pressure if you get the right VCs, right business partners. You get the wrong ones, they're like, hey, my flat has gone up by 28%, your company's only gone by 12%. Hey, you can't compare me to a flat, right? So if you're not careful, you will have those kind of investors with you. The best talent wants to work in this environment. There are continuous innovations, hopefully you guys are driving it. And we are usually the first to adapt to new technology, right? And then you see who has deep pockets now, right? It's the early stage companies have deep pockets, right? Not the big companies. It's dramatically changed, dramatically, because the big companies are all stuck. Mediocre talent cannot move. This quarter, what can I do? They're stuck, right? And the startups are having a blast, right? I mean, they're getting money there are ups and downs in business, but you're getting money, you're getting all of these things to be done. Just a summary of the funding stuff, which I think I've probably shared with you already. If customers can fund the business, best. Push out the funding decision as much as possible, right? As late as possible. If you can get funding in 8 years' time, great. 6 years' time, great. 4 years. Today, see if you can manage to something else, right? Hustle, do what you want, push out the funding decision. Look for a business partner, not an investor when you go for it. And here's my thing, like, please do not change your pitch deck to get funding, right? I mean, that's I think it's a kind of symptom. If you'll get the funding, but when you're trying to please someone, right, then you are in for trouble after marriage, right? So you might as well be yourself up front so that you meet the right partner to work with, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm so sweet, I'm this and I'm that, and I'm very adjustable, and then you get beaten up post that, right? So it's best to be as true to yourself as possible when you're having conversations with investors. Best not to talk to them, but if you're talking to them, talk to the right guys, and if you're talking to them, be honest, be yourself, and if they still like you and invest, that's great. And like I said, if they give you money, irrespective of what they say before they give you money, if they give you money, they will talk, they'll make you listen, they'll beat you up, right? It's a natural thing, not in a negative way, it's just that it's the natural thing. So I take my hard-earned money, put it on something, and I feel you're not doing what I spoke to you about, right? Because you think it's not worth it, right? I'm asking you to go meet that customer, you're saying that customer is useless, so you're not going and meeting them. This will get into a fight, and it's not good for you, it's not good for the investor, it's not good for anyone, right? So I'm going to summarize at this point in time. So 3 milestones, going back to basics. Paying customer you need, and for that you don't need anything fancy. You have to solve a problem for your customer, and you need a set of people crazy about solving this problem, and the purpose matters. Why you're solving that problem. If you're solving the problem to make money, it doesn't work that way. I mean, I know some of these guys make money, but originally, if you see why they started the company, be it a Bill Gates or the most famous dropouts of Harvard Business School are Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, because when I did that program, they never spoke about anyone who completed the program. They kept referring to Bill Gates, and so I'm like, hey, so if I drop out, will I be successful? No, this is not correlation. This is just correlation, it's not a causation. So whether you finish it or not doesn't matter, but if you have a purpose bigger than anything else, chances of success are very high. And therefore, if you have the right founders looking at the right problems and coming up with solutions for that, your chances of success are high. And only if you get a paying customer, you scale it. Because I've seen people get fancy offices, fancy things, spend millions of dollars of investor money without solving a core problem. Then you're in trouble, right? You're in trouble. Then the next stage, $10 million revenue, 100 crores in revenues. Smart hustle, there's no playbook for it. You have to discover the playbook, invent the playbook, get that going, and the core of it continues to be consumer needs, value proposition, but the founding team becomes very important. Energy of the founding team, how hard they push, how much they go, how they hustle becomes a very, very important one. Yeah. But you need the business skills and funding, but smart ones, right? So you don't want to go into formal funding. If you can avoid it and push it, great. Similarly, the business skills is not formal business skills, it's more, can you read a P&L? Can you read a balance sheet? Do you know which entry goes into the balance sheet? Which entry goes into P&L? Can you read a cash flow statement? Without this, you can't have a business, right? So basics. And once you get to this stage, game on, right? I mean, I want more and more of these companies becoming world-class, innovative, because this is where the game starts and you're playing the big game. And this is where I believe you can recruit top-notch executors from different places who have the experience. Like, for instance, when I joined Latentview, I'd already lived in 5 countries and traveled to 50 countries. So it was easy for me to expand this into multiple countries because, but as a startup founder, if you are going to travel to all these places and learn this using your money or your investors' money, not a great idea. So you will have to balance it out. But don't get these guys before this, they'll kill you, right? So be careful about where you're getting people in. And I just want to make sure that I also communicate with all these things going on, that Johnson & Johnson and Philips, the 2 global companies that I worked for before coming back to India, they were started in the 1880s, right? So they've been around for 140 years, right? I'm not sure how many of the cool guys that we respect today will exist in 140 years. You don't need to, but I'm saying there is some merit to good governance, good leadership, right, and succession planning. There is a learning that you have in succession planning, right? So if you're the founder and you're still the founder, and you think you own the world and your ideas are the most important things of that, that's great, but at some point you're going to die. What happens to your company when you die, right? Do you have a succession planning in place? These are fundamental business things which you will have in place, which you learn in either in an MBA program or in a company like J&J or Philips. You learn about succession planning, you learn about who has potential to do what, how do we nurture those skills, how do you build a long-term vision, how do you have a company going. So there is some merit to these ones, and I'll conclude with a quote by Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt said to his son in 1877, anyone can make a fortune, it takes brains to hold on to it, right? And this is what he told his son because he thought his son was a loser, right? This guy's built a huge fortune and he's looking at his son and saying, this guy doesn't seem to. The son actually did a couple of really cool deals, and then, but the context at that time, I don't know if you guys are clued in, at that time was, if we think we have 4 or 5 tech titans now ruling the world, it was no different at this point in the US. There was Vanderbilt, there was Carnegie, there was Rockefeller and JP Morgan, right? Vanderbilt owned the entire railways of the US. Rockefeller was the oil guy. and Morgan was the finance. They basically twisted rules, laws, everything possible, and had a monopoly, right? That's what they were. And they were ruling the world at that point in time. So 4 guys were there, and 100 years later, 150 years later, not much has changed. There's like 5 or 6 people ruling the whole world, and we are at the mercy of these guys. Hopefully those things will change as we move forward. But what I wanted to do today is provide you a perspective from my experience of what are the different stages, and that even on day one, even if you're solving a small problem, unless you dream of being a world-class innovative company, you're not going to solve it the way you should be solving it. So you have to have that ambition on day one, but you have to be pragmatic enough to put your ego aside and see if the customer's paying. And after they pay, go back to them and say, how are you feeling? Do you feel good, right? And when they say, I thought you were going to do a lot, but I paid so much, you've not done anything. Listen carefully, ask them, what did you think I would do? Do it the next time. Win the hearts of the customer, along with the minds of the customer. There's no show. And then, even when you become a huge multi-billion-dollar company, you are still, that's the basics. You have more customers and you're addressing more needs. But you have to address every customer's need better than anybody else in the world, with a kindness and with that pleasure that you have to address it, and you have to be delighting the customer, and you should get delighted when the customer is happy, right? So business is extremely, extremely simple. If you break it down to stages, get it down to parts, and whenever you're unhappy, go to your customers, talk to them. If they're happy, you have no reason to be unhappy. Your customer's happy, you're doing great. So with that, thank you very much for patiently listening to me. Do we have time for questions of you? Yeah. So I'll open it up for questions, and as I said, whatever I've shared with you, thanks to you, I created this, right? I mean, I always look at it, and because it's my alma mater, I get very excited when I come here. So I'm thinking a lot and trying to figure out how can I. So just to put it in perspective, I have this whole notebook full of notes that I prepared for this lecture, which I've dropped off because some of them are too theoretical, right? So in what is innovation and how do you, so all of those things. But thank you very much, because this gave me the opportunity to look at the fundamentals, look at all of this. Otherwise, daily we are running around meeting customers, getting feedback, improving our products. That's what we do for a living. So I'm going to, if anyone has any questions on any topic, yeah, go ahead. You're a professor. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So the question I have is, what if the customer has a problem which is in future? Like he doesn't have the problem currently,
yeah,
but he will have the problem in, let's say, 2-3 years of time, and it also takes time to build the technology. That will be the time required to build the technology. So that's first part of the question, and second part is then there is no market currently for that solution, right? So a lot of investors will ask about market size and things like that. So currently there is no market. So what do we do in such a scenario?
Perfect. I'll break this as 2 different questions. The first one is, the customer is going to face this problem 2 years down the line, right? If that's a happy customer of yours today, you can have this conversation with them and co-create a product. Right, and we use, as a company, I've done this earlier because they have a problem, right? And you are proactively going to them and pointing out, you are going to face this problem 2 years from now because of A, B, and C. They should be grateful to you for pointing this out to them. And but we have to articulate it appropriately, so we cannot go. Surely the way you ask the question is very clear. You have anticipated it. You've seen the problem. We have to articulate it to the customer that here's the problem you're going to face. Here are the consequences of that problem, right? So what's going to happen to you because of that problem? And the other way of putting it, if you take no action between now and the next 2 years, here's the damage it's going to cost you. This is the damage to your business, right? So we have to figure out a way of, part of the team's job is to articulate these things. We have to do our homework. You saw the way that Instagram guy spoke. He made it sound like it was super easy. It wasn't, right? So he made it sound like, oh, this is 3 problems. So that is a really cool one. And 99% of the chances are, if the customer is a happy customer, they will work with you in co-creating a solution, and they will also help you market it to other customers because they've benefited from your proactive ideas on that. The second one is a double-edged sword, where there is no market for it, right? That's a tough one. So you have to go dig 3 levels deeper, saying, why is there no market for it, and why do we think there's going to be a market for it, right? So, because no market for it was one of the top 3 reasons in the startup. And as with my lens, how I look at it, if somebody says there's no market for it, you're not solving any problem, right?
Not currently, it will be in 2 years.
Correct. And therefore, it's somebody's problem in 2 years' time. If you know who that somebody is, you can have a chat with them and ask them to articulate what are the problems you're going to face in 2 years' time. And if this props up, then you can ask them, in 2 years' time, would you be willing to pay for a solution for this problem that's going to prop up? And if they say yes, you can take this to the investor and say, I have documented evidence from 100 customers who have said this. Therefore, right now, there is no problem, no solution, but in 2 years' time, the problem is going to prop up, and here's the solution. And the investor would be, there will be certain set of investors who would be open towards that. And the Speciale Invest and the Blue Hill Capital are the kind of guys who would be okay with that, because they're trying to send rockets and they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff, right? So, so some of these people would be open to look at it, but we have to articulate it in such a way that we have identified the customers. Today they don't have a need, tomorrow they're going to have a need. They themselves believe that they're going to have a need. In some cases, even they don't know. That's a leap of faith. I mean, I look at Steve Jobs as one of those guys who does that all the time, right? But then 99.9% of the others fail. But Steve's got a vision and he does it in a particular way, and it works. But you also burn infinite amount of cash. You get sacked from your own company. So there's a bunch of things that are associated with it. That's a tough, but good question, and hopefully there's some kind of a directional answer I've given you. Thank you, thanks.
Hi, I'm Shlok, third year B.Tech ME.
Okay.
So when's the best time to build? Let's say like post you graduate, after working in corporate, because 20 to 30s I feel is like a very productive age in your life, and it is the same age where you have to take a lot of decisions. Do you go to higher studies? Do you build? Do you climb up the corporate ladder? And of course there's societal pressure for marriage and all, like having kids. All of those things are there.
You're not interested in that?
No, I'm just saying.
Just kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, is there any way in which you can think
Purpose.
about this?
So I think do not do these things for the sake of doing these things, right? So if you don't have a genuine purpose to go and start something, do not start something, right? Because it's a painful journey. It's just really painful, because the counter side is you spend 4 years, 5 years building something, doesn't go anywhere. Also, you're at that age where you can lose confidence in yourself, which is you need to build confidence in yourself at this point in time. It's very easy for youngsters to lose confidence in themselves because you try 3 things. At this age, if I do 5 things and I fail in all 5, I'll still come here arrogantly giving a speech to you, right? So that's the gray hair speaking. But in my 20s, I wouldn't have been that way. So if I do 3 things and I fail in all 3, then I'll start doubting myself, saying maybe I'm not good, right? Right now, at some point you reach in your stage where your life you say, you're all not good, I'm good, right? So, but you cannot do in your 20s. So you should have a reasonable chance for success, but purpose overtakes everything else. If you find some purpose which is brilliant and out of the world, and you say, this is, I love this, I'm going to do this, still go after customers. There's a fancy animal moving around. Still go after what it is, but you should get the basics right of what need are you addressing and what is your solution. So you have to get those basics right. But I wouldn't add too much pressure on this. I mean, because one of the things I was chatting up with people is, 20s is also the time you should have fun, right? I mean, not that I'm not having fun right now. I'm having a lot of fun, but you should prioritize fun, right? I mean, it's so if you can find something to do which is fun for you, that will be a lot more rewarding, and you can do it for a longer period of time and so on. So you have to solve those issues, and it won't go away, but don't be under pressure. Push back, right? If society expects you to do something, if you comply now, you'll comply till you're 80 years old or 100 years old. On day one, you step out and say, no, here's how I'm going to lead my life. Everybody else will adjust to that fairly quickly. But be reasonable. Be kind to people, stick to your points of views. None of these entrepreneurs were people who listened, right? Later on, they'll tell you have to listen, right? They may listen to the customer, but they don't listen to anyone else. They're like brute force people who just push their way through. They hear 10 no's, and in the distance, they think they heard a yes, right? That is all they hear. They don't hear the 10 no's. They just brush past all of these guys and go there. So if you find a purpose beyond anything else, dive in. Otherwise, navigate your view, your thing. You're in a good position. You can't go wrong from here. It's good, great, really great. That's where you are. So have fun doing it. And there are no, when I put these charts, they look like linear. All of these were whirlwind. So when I quit my job at J&J and I went back to studying, paying $100,000. At that time, it was a lot of money. I've gone back to study. Everybody in my family was shocked, saying, "What, you gave up all this? You have I was living in a fancy apartment in Malaysia with a nice car, and so international schooling for my daughter, everything, and you're dropping all of this to become a student." But for me, the fire was, if I don't become a great global executive, it's a lost life for me. I'm not interested in any of the things that I have. So can I build something substantial? Can I build something great? So that was my drive. For me, that I had to do this, right? So I took a loan and did that program. So if you find something which is cool, nice, you want to do, push hard and get it done. And you have to push back on society if it tries to block you, right? That's, beyond that, you can't make wrong decisions. You have to live with the decisions you make and have fun doing those, and do not regret anything. Just try, if you feel you want to try something, try it. You fail, but take it in your stride. Do not get bogged down. 10 people will come and tell you, see, if you had not quit Philips, by now you would have been this guy, you would have been that guy. Ignore, right? So none of, I'm happy what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I will do what I feel like doing. Of course, there are alternate realities that could exist. None of my business. That's not, I'm looking at the future and what can I do from here. And do it in a nice, simple, easy way. Take it in your stride. Do not think too much about this. If you have a greater purpose, put your efforts on it. Don't be too worried about yourself. You will do well. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Thanks. My team member. Introduce yourself so that.
Hi, I'm Arun. I work at Dzruptiv as a junior data scientist. So about this whole making the customers happy thing, right? So let's say you have a decently happy customer, you go back to them for feedback, they're coming up with some request, and let's say you find it bizarre at that point, and later you go on and discuss with your team, they have your opinion as well. So how do you respond back to the customers? And also one more question to add along the same line. You told something about avoiding a bad investor thing.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid a bad customer as well? Because at the end of the day, even they are paying you money, so you have to do what they are asking for, right? Yeah.
No, good, super question. In reality, there would be bad customers, but typically 1 in 100. Because your good customer is one who's pushing you to provide a world-class solution. The reason they're a customer and they're willing to pay is because they want to see if they can do something fabulous with you supplying them or providing them with a service, right? And so your bad customer is the one who says, oh great, well done, everything you've done is fabulous, thank you, can you do this again next month? Because in 3 years' time you will stop growing and you will hit a plateau. A great customer is one who comes in and comes up with these bizarre ideas saying, can you do this, can you do that? They become a great customer when they come back and have a reasonable conversation with you, right? When they ask for, can you do all of this with this technology, and you come back, discuss with the team, and you go back to them and you say, A, B, and C can be done, but the D and E cannot be done at this point in time with this technology. And at that point in time, typically the customers are fairly reasonable. But that articulation has to be done by us. So being a client in the past, what I've seen is sometimes teams take up huge chunks of work in a short period of time, right? And do not communicate back this to the client, right? I mean, then let's say the submission is due on Friday, and then usually you get a call on Thursday evening that it cannot be done, right? Then it drives you nuts, saying it was a like 3-week project, and I didn't get any communication for 2 weeks and 4 days, and I'm getting it on the last day that it cannot be done tomorrow, right? So then it seems like crazy. But if you look at what the team has done, this is probably an 8-week project and they've agreed to a 3-week timeline, and they work like day in and day out solving this, but they have not communicated with the customer on what they're doing, where they are, and so on, right? And the customer finds out day before, because I've probably signed up for a board meeting where I'm going to go with your output to the customer and say, to my boss, and say, here's the results. And then I find out today that I'm not getting it. So I have to go to my boss and say, can we move this meeting by a week, and so on. And I don't know what happened in this, but because the team did not communicate with me what was going on, right? So are there bad customers? Yes, there are bad customers. But do you see them? If they are paying customers, then typically they want you to solve their problem, right? That is why they're paying you. They can always walk away. You can always walk away. So it's not a problem that you're stuck with forever, right? But if they're asking for extraordinary performance, I would typically look at them as a great customer or a lead customer, because when we launched our contact lenses, the J&J example, the 2 or 3 people, ophthalmologists who asked, I want this, I want that, and I want this, were the ones who drove our R&D teams to come up with exceptional products. If the customer had not asked for those things, then our R&D teams would not have pushed it, because our product was good already. But these guys said, no, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want this kind of, I see these complications when I do it this way, can you avoid it? So the pushing from the customer is typically very good for anybody, and the reason I say paying, the problem with the same push coming from an investor is sometimes could be unhealthy. But a push from a customer is not unhealthy, right? It just tells you that our capabilities, we cannot solve that problem, right? Either we can improve our capabilities or hand that customer to a competitor who's better than us. That's how I look at it. And the unreasonable customer is when they don't pay you, and after you've done a great job, they tell you negative things about you. Those are unreasonable customers. But if they're asking for something, then they're good customers. They're the kind of lead customers, because typically speaking, we should be thinking of those cool things. And it's difficult. We have, everybody's got a day job. But if the customer pushes you to think of those cool things, then I would usually classify them as a great customer, because they would be your lead customer. So when you're launching a new product, you go to this customer and show it to them. And they would be like, this is not good enough. And you ask them why. And they'll give you reasons, A, B, and C. And then you go back to your drawing board, fix that, and come back. So anybody who gives you feedback for the team to improve, or the company to improve, or the offerings to improve, are really great for you. And you need more of those people, both within your team and in the external environment.
Thanks.
Is that okay, Varun?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. How to tackle the influencers? That's a
because I have very good experience, that's why I'm asking.
No, so the first thing is, just like a customer, you need to understand, map out who your influencers are, right? I mean, in most cases for a technology company like us, the influencers are other technologists.
Okay.
Right? And these are nerds, right? Money doesn't influence them, nothing. So, but if I solve, like Varun just said, if you have solved an extremely difficult problem that nobody was able to solve, and you go and show it to this person, they'll be blown away from then on that you're a fan for life, right? I can give you an example in my previous company when I solved a problem for a client. Apparently, they couldn't solve it for 3 years or 4 years. We didn't know this. We were given in 3 weeks' time, we solved the problem, right? And those guys were blown away. They didn't tell us, give us this feedback, right? But a year or two later, that person left the company, went somewhere. I was having drinks with them as for their farewell, and they said, you know, that problem you guys solved, that we were trying for 3 years, we couldn't solve it, and you guys solved it in 2-3 weeks. And then we expanded like crazy within that company, right? So the influencers are different. The consumer influencers, I'm out of touch with. I'm not the right guy to say this, but there will be other experts who can give you. But tech influencers is, if you're doing some cool stuff, if you're putting code into the system, if you're helping somebody else solve a problem, they love it, right? So they love it. Thank you. Thanks. Last question, or 2 questions? Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Oh, hello, I'm Shubhankit. I'm a B.Tech student here. So yeah, as students of IIT Madras, we have been provided with a certain ecosystem within MAN where you can maybe start your startup or whatever before even graduating.
Yeah.
So do you think there is merit in there? Like for if you start a startup as a B.Tech, it'll 90% fail because you don't really know anything, but you still will gain experience. So is there any merit to start building something before you graduate, or do you think maybe you should take some time, even if you have an idea, or even if you don't, you should wait maybe 2 or 3 years, learn how the industry works, maybe get a job somewhere, get some experience, and then maybe start building?
It would really depend on your background and your. So, like both my parents were working for the government, right? So they were salaried employees. My mom's a doctor, dad's a geologist. We had zero business background. So if I had gone and tried something without, all I learned in business was at J&J and Phillips and Latentview and with our companies here. But if I had tried to do something on my own immediately after coming, I would have failed like crazy because I have absolutely no sense of anything, right? So, for me, I would recommend go learn. But if you've been experimenting with a few things, or you've been exposed to certain things which are, you're in a broader sense, you're from a business background, or you've seen people operate, your close friend has his own business or her own business, then you might be able to take that call on where it is. If you have a great purpose, waiting is not a good idea. If you don't have a great purpose, waiting is a great idea. so purpose, suddenly you find something which you're so passionate about, you say, this is, then it's worth giving it a shot. So even if you waste a couple of years on it, fine, you get back on track. But don't do it for the sake, just because a lab is available or something is available, that shouldn't be the reason. You can experiment, spend some time, figure out what others are doing, form opinions. But if you feel you got to jump in, you know it from within, you jump in. Otherwise, don't. Is that okay? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm Nandini. I'm also a dual degree student from here. One question I had is this environment, IIT Madras environment, they typically get us introduced to hardcore engineering stuff.
Yeah.
More or less like deep tech. My question is very specific to deep tech. Your first milestone was get a happy paying customer. Most of the deep tech products that are launched today, they don't have any customer as such.
Yeah.
But those as a startup might or may not flourish, but they are great innovations that could be taken up by maybe the government, like by DRDO and stuff. So do you think there is any point in
I
being
think
there?
the two VCs that I mentioned to you, both Speciale Invest and Blue Hill Capital, specialize on deep tech, right? My only point by saying paying customer is that you should stay there till you see a paying customer. So if you go in with the view that I'll build something and somebody's going to take it up, that will die. All right. That's all. My point is that if If you go in with the point of view that DRDO is going to buy it or somebody is going to buy it and they're going to use it, nobody will do that, right? So there is somebody who will die for an idea who sticks with it for 5 years or 10 years. Then it will work. But if you feel that is the idea, then it's probably worth putting in, because you will, in this case, you will raise funds 2 or 3 rounds, and you would burn a few years plus a lot of things before you hit the first paying customer. That doesn't change my milestone. Just because you won the Prime Minister's award, and just because you burnt somebody else's $100 million, I will not respect you. I will respect you when some customer comes and says, wow, you changed my life. Right? The world will respect you. I mean, you will be on magazine covers and you will be a hotshot. Whether you're a scam or a rock star, time will tell. So for me, the critical thing is, what's the problem you're solving? And the professor asked it very eloquently, the problem is not yet known, we'll get to know it 2-3 years later. Then stay here, wait for the problem to happen, solve the problem. But do not think, I've created this, somebody else will pick it up and solve that problem. That doesn't happen in real life. The moment your baby is your baby, right? You drop it, it drops. Nobody picks it up, right? I mean, because most startups think this will get picked up by someone. No, either you see it through or it dies. So that idea that someone else will pick this up and run with it is, it might happen, but chances of happening would be 1 in 100. So if you have something, you have 3 rounds of investing, you will be respected, you will be invited for meetings, you will be talking everywhere, you will win the awards and all of that. Me, with my framework, I will respect you once you have a paying customer. Till that point, I'm saying you're blah, blah, blah. You're a great technologist, but I need to see somebody using your products, right? So if it's instead of say, they're not yet paying you, but they're using it, right? So on day 1, 20,000 users are there for that. Yeah, I love that, right? That's great. So you need customers, you need that. Deep tech takes longer to get to that point, and we invest longer and go there. But you have to see it through for it to become a genuine innovation in the marketplace. And the deep tech guys, extreme respect for them, and I chair the deep tech committee for TiE Chennai, and I work with them a lot, but I still insist that you have to see the problem through. Do not hand it over to government or something. The government, first, whatever secretary that comes in from the government will kill the project, right? So you would have done 5 years of hard work, you would have built it to that point. Some person who just transferred from the Postmaster General to this role will kill the project, right? So you will have to see, whatever you do, you will have to see it through till that first stage. And it's your baby. So if you spend 5 years, if it takes 3 more years, you'll have to figure out a way of it. That's why the purpose is important. Do not get into it unless you're really, really, really interested in it, because the world will throw a lot of curveballs at you and you'll have to figure out a way of pushing it back and so on. But deep tech is where I would expect students from IIT to make a difference. And you have an ecosystem that supports you. But you cannot take the eye off the ball on getting a paying customer. And I see a lot of startups coming in saying, I've got this investor, I've got that investor, I've got this investor. I think that's great. I mean, I respect you, I love you for that. But who's your customer? They're not yet born. We'll wait, we'll see that happens. I'm not investing in you, but I will help you get to that point, more than happy. But so this is, like I said, this is my point of view, and there are 10 other ways of looking at it. But I look at it as if a founder is not seeing it through till the end, that will fail, because nobody else will be as passionate as you, right? That's why I said there's a hustle element. Hustle element is, it's your baby. You just take it and say, this baby is great, right? And you're going to say that. But the next person who comes there is going to look at it and say, this baby, in Tamil we are saying, Kakeke tan kunju pon kunju, which is a crow's baby is a golden baby for the crow, right? So it is, so you have to see it through. You cannot drop it halfway through and you cannot hand it over. So you have to be convinced about the idea and your purpose of spending 5-8 years with you. So a typical startup, let's say it takes 3 to 5 years. Deep tech will take 5 to 9-10 years. So unless you are going to spend 8-10 years with that thing, do not get involved with it. That would be my immediate take. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, last question, very last question, and we'll wrap it up with.
Hi, my name is Abhishek. So I've seen that you have done multiple degrees, multiple MBAs over your course of your career. I just want to ask, like, what was the reason or the need, or how did an MBA help you after you've reached, let's say, you become the CEO of Philips? After that point, in that stage, what was the reason and how exactly did that help you?
So here's the thing, right? So good question, because not only you, my family keeps asking, saying, so you didn't learn, what did you do in that program? What did you do in this? So the only thing I did after that was, so I think during my talk I explained why I did the IMD, because IITs are recognized globally. IIMs are not yet, right? Not yet. I mean, so they're great quality, everything is great, but it's just that the corporate world doesn't know them. So I did the IMD MBA, one of those reasons. The other reason was I wanted to move from an India executive to a global executive, because my stint in Malaysia clearly, till that point in time, I believed we are great in India, our executives are fantastic, because that's what I was told in Bombay, that see, no expats, because we are great, we are such great talent. I go to Malaysia, the 4 companies that we had in J&J, all 4 of us were non-Malays, right? We had a Filipino running one company, Singaporean running another company, another Indian running, and myself. So the 4 of us, no Malays. And then I looked at it and say, the Malays were equally talented or better than some of us. They had all the skills. But why are so many expats there? The roads were good, the living was good, they could play golf, the airports were nice. It was so, it was a breeze to live there. Therefore, the people are coming in. So it switched my mind a little bit, saying that, hey, I might be a good Indian executive, but I need exposure globally for me to figure this out. So in my class in IMD, it was a class of 90 students with 45 nationalities, right? So you're meeting all sorts of crazy people who, so you understand a few things which are very core, which is, if I look at the Brazilian banking system, they've gone through hyperinflation, which means a friend of mine, he said there was money under the bed. You would take that money, go to the shop, so much money, and you'll get one loaf of bread. The banking system was broken, right? Then he'll come back. Next day, the same amount of money will give him one packet of biscuits. He doesn't trust the banking system, right? So, and I'm going there, I believe in the banks, nobody takes your house away, nobody takes, so you're coming from a worldview where you have experience. And then you suddenly see another person who doesn't even believe in banks because they've gone through that. Then I met this guy from Niger, right, country near Nigeria, and the guy said his per capita GDP dropped there in the past few years. And he was talking about why that, and I didn't even know per capita GDP for emerging markets could drop. Because all the while I was growing my business at like 100%, 200%, 55% CAGR, and I'm comparing with China, which is growing like at a rapid pace. And in my mind, I think per capita GDP for emerging markets grows up. GDP goes up, per capita GDP goes up, and I took it for granted. Then you go see emerging markets where it's not growing, it's tanking. You're like, what? You can do that? Yes, you can do that if you don't do a good job of the macro environment. So a lot of these came out of my exposure. And that was a European business school. And one of the reasons I went for the AMP, Advanced Management Program at Harvard, which is a 2-month program. Again, we had 180 students with probably, 60, 70 nationalities there. But these guys are already CEOs, right? So, and they were interested in the future, right? So they're not sitting back and saying, I'm already CEO, or I'm smoking a cigar with some single malt whiskey. No, they're saying, what can I do next? What can I do? So they are super driven people sitting there and asking questions. In fact, a couple of them are our customers right now. They're kind enough to say, hey, Gopi, you're fairly smart in class. Can you come and do some work for me in my company? And they're CEOs, and you get access to these companies where we can start working immediately. So, so I've had exposure to India Business School, European Business School, and the US Business School. And the reality is business is people-to-people conversations. There are nuances in all of this. So if you're doing business in North Madras versus South Madras, there is a subtle difference. If you're doing, so you learn to read these differences when you're in these environments, right? So if I'm doing business with the French person, if I'm doing business with the Russian person, if I'm doing business with a south to south Brazilian, Argentinian, it's a different thing. If I'm doing business with an American, which J&J was an American company, Philips was a Dutch company, those two I get really well because I spent 10 years, 7 years there. But now I can read the differences. And you have to speak the language a little bit, right? So if you're in the US, this is the longest pole in the tent. I don't know what a pole in the tent is, but that's what they say to identify a CPM or a PERT problem, right? You have a problem that, or they would say, I don't know, tailwinds, headwinds. I'm not a sailing guy, so I don't know what a headwind or tailwind is. But you learn all of these things because without this, and when I left India, the cars were just coming in. Other than Fiat and Ambassador, I didn't know any cars. Maruti came in. I thought Maruti was a great car. And these guys will be giving you car examples everywhere. You go to a business meeting, it'll be about, you're selling a Ford Fusion to a millionaire. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know who a millionaire is. I don't know what but people are using all these languages. And if you don't connect with that, you can't do business. So you have to pick up what is being said, and it's different in Europe. So for me, these education, different things allowed me to pick those nuances. But also, with more experience, I was able to understand case studies better. And these guys were getting the founders in. So if I'm sitting in Harvard, then there's a case study, the founder will come in. Right? You can ask the question on, why did you do this? And the guy will honestly tell you, boss, I had no clue. I did it, it worked out, right? So your confidence level goes up. You have access to these founders. You're not scared of talking to anyone. You're not scared of making a fool of yourself. And those kind of things build up over a period of time. And right now, just to build on your point, I attended a course in May of 2025 on board governance, high performance boards. I'm only on not-for-profit boards. I'm not on any company boards, but I thought governance is an important thing to build resilient foundations for the future. And as a country, as we move ahead, especially our country, we need to have good governance, right? We need to make sure there are checks and balances. And in a 5 or 10 year time frame, I might need those skills. Therefore, I'm doing that program, and I'll do a few more on the governance side, but not for today, but probably 5 or 10 years down the line. It also, I see it as it keeps my mind fresh, but also connects, right? I call up a friend, that guy owns the airport in Philippines. What? Which flight are you coming in? I own the airport. So it's all my other friends are nerdy friends. All my IITM friends are super nerdy. Whenever I go, I'm writing notes on what they're saying. But these other friends are all, they have some some of them have really deep pockets. So if you have a great idea, and I love the idea and I don't have the money, I call one of these guys and they'll be like, Gopi, do you like the idea? Yeah, like, should I look at it? You should look at it seriously. What would it take? And you have to put in a couple of $100 million. You think it's worth it? That will be the conversation. And it's important you have friends that can do these kind of things, right? Because eventually, like the deep tech thing that you said, you need deep money. And if you have one investor with deep pockets, it's better than having 5 investors with small amounts and you have to explain to all of them, right? So some of these things, you don't know when you will use these networks at some point in time. So it allows you to do that. But more importantly, it helps you rethink. If you're stuck in a place long enough, then you absorb a lot of things and you rethink and you come out with a new way of thinking, which is very critical for the mind to be active and for you to contribute in the future. You got to be active, and I join in for all customer meetings, right? I mean, I just go in for the reviews and things of that nature. I think let's Sridhar on you guys because I'm on his board, but other than that one customer where I'm on the board of the customer's company, I join in for all the meetings because it helps me get up to speed on technology. It helps me understand the customer's need better. So I'm on all of this, and I can do this till I hit the next milestone. I'll do this. I will be doing this because it's also great fun doing it. So with that, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Sindhu, for inviting me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you.